Welcome to Firehouse Glass's hot shop. This is where all the glass blowing takes place. I'm going to give you a brief orientation here to what equipment we have, what it's used for, and the types of tools you would expect to use in your first glass blowing lesson. So to start us out here, where everything begins with the furnace. This guy is about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it holds molten glass on the inside. So everything in there is very hot. You can see that lump of glass, right? Close that back up. That's the furnace, part one. This next part here, this is the pipe warmer. We've got two types of pipes that you're gonna end up using in glass blowing one. One is a solid rod. These are actually referred to as punties. Okay, so you can gather on these. Again, they're just solid versus the blowpipes. These are the blowpipes. You can see here they have a hollow end in them. Now, obviously, this is how you can end up getting the actual glass blowing done, right? By adding the air into the vessel on the end. Both of those things go into the furnace and pick up glass on them. As part of the process, you'll take the pipe or the punty from the pipe warmer here. You'll dip it into the very end into the water before you go into the furnace to take what's referred to as a gather of glass. That's the first part of any process, okay? Often you'll see glass blowers then kind of level off their glass and come over to this table here. This is a metal table. It's referred to as a marver. A lot of times this is used just to help people get a little bit of shape, to manage some of the heat on their piece, that kind of thing. After people marver, a lot of times they'll come over to what's called the glory hole or the reheating chamber. This allows us to put more heat back into the glass because you can imagine when it comes out of the furnace, it starts to rapidly cool. And as it cools, that reduces our ability to work the glass to get it into the shape that we want. Which gets me to all of our tools and our color setup and design. So one of the ways, and the way that we typically add color to the glass during lessons, is using something called frit. That's just chunks of colored glass that you can apply to the hot glass just by rolling your blowpipe or your punty in here, or patting it one on each side if you want multiple colors, and then taking it back over to the glory hole heats that in, and you can add color into your glass piece. Once that's done, you'll see a glass blower typically come over to the bench. That's the word for the working station you see here. And you can see many tools laid out on the bench, as well as what's referred to as a block behind the bench. When you're making something like a vessel or a paperweight, you'll use something like a block to give it its first kind of shaping. You can see that it's nice and rounded in there. This block will allow a uniform shape to kind of develop and gravity to do its work on that bubble. If you start to blow a bubble out or create something on something that's not uniform, you'll end up with the end piece also being not uniform. So that's a block. What you see here are a few other tools I just want to run through to give you an idea of how you'll use them in a first lesson. These are referred to as the jacks. These are a very versatile tool, but they're most often used for cutting in what's referred to as the jack line into a piece of glass. This is how the glass knows where to break off when it comes time to get it off of the blowpipe or the punty. So you'll often see people use them at a straight up and down angle at the end of the pipe where the glass and it sort of meet each other in order to squeeze down to a narrow point where that glass can break off. You'll also see people use the flat end of these on the end to give a little flatness or to control the heat on a particular piece as well. Okay, so that's the jacks. These are tweezers. Pretty self-explanatory. They look like giant tweezers. These are often used for pulling, for tweezing, for grabbing glass in some sort of way. You'll use these on a paperweight in order to create little indents that can capture bubbles, or to grab your colors and twist them together. Those are the tweezers. Then what you see here are two different kinds of shears. We've got the straight shears and the diamond shears. Probably in the first lesson, you'll mainly just see the straight shears used in terms of making ornament hooks and that kind of thing, but the diamond shears are also another tool that's designed to trim things off, but around a round base, right? So you'll see sometimes people use the jacks and then moving to the diamond shears to get something to detach, whereas the straight shears are much more like a pair of scissors that you would typically use to cut something or remove it from a piece. Lastly, here you see we have a paddle. This is just a wooden paddle. Paddles are used to flatten the edge of pieces. This could be the bottom or it could be the lip of it used over here. And we also use them sometimes to knock pieces off onto, so we can just pick them up with our fire resistant tongs here and take it over into the annealer. So the annealer is the final step when it comes to making sure our glass comes down to room temperature safely overnight. You can see this guy is at 900 degrees here currently. That is a stable sitting point for the type of glass that we work with. So things that we made today will come out of the annealing box tomorrow morning, and they'll be cool to the touch and ready to put in the gallery or come home. Lastly here, I just want to describe one other tool that Greg or an instructor will use in order to help through the process, and something that's become even more popular during COVID is the blow tube. This makes it so that we can help other people manage their airflow within something like an ornament, but it also makes it so that glass blowers can self-blow and manage their own volume regulation on their own a little bit more. So there you have it. Here's our hot shot basics for you, all the way from the furnace to the annealer.